Indonesia is also moving toward the taxation for beverage sugary drink, but actually, last we heard that it will be postponed to the next year.
They're getting a lot of unhealthy carbohydrates, sugar, and highly refined.
Yeah, because it's tasty, right? For the kid, it's really tasty.
And they enforce each other, and that's something that's lacking right now in this country, and we need that to be done.
Yeah, agree, Prof. It's really, really important that everyone is Welcome to DPP PERSAGI Podcast, with aim to give current and updated information about health and nutrition. My name is Hakim Darmawan. I hope everyone is doing well. In today's episode, we are really honored to welcome our distinguished guest, Professor Berry, from University of North Carolina at the Chapel Hill School of Public Health. Professor Berry is a professor in nutrition and widely known across many countries, including Indonesia. In this episode, we will talk and chit-chat with Prof. Berry about his activities during a visit to Indonesia, and also we will discuss about the global trend in nutrition-related challenges. So, hi, Prof. Berry, how are you?
Good, thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, this is our pleasure actually to have you in our podcast. This is really important for us because we want to talk and learn from you about the nutrition-related challenges that we are facing right now. So we learned that this morning from your keynote speech lecture about the global food policy. Maybe you can elaborate more about what is going on with the global policy related to nutrition and health.
Right. In the last 20 to 25 years in Indonesia, there's been a slow change in the way people eat. And it's increasingly been where increasing amounts of food are buying from highly processed food that's high in sugar, sodium, and saturated fats. And really one of the leading causes of the rapid increases in overweight, obesity, and other non-communicable diseases, particularly diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and also 13 of the 16 major cancers are related to the same problem. So this change is very, very complex. It has affected not only overnutrition and all the non-communicable diseases, but infants and toddlers who are low income are consuming now 20-25% of their calories from unhealthy, highly processed food that's high in added sugar, in particular, also high in sodium, and very unhealthy for these infants. So one of the causes of in other words, stunting, as well as overweight and all the nutrition-related problems, is this change in diets. And what Indonesia is seeing now is a quite rapid increase in overweight, obesity, and among children, particularly adolescents, and you're seeing younger and younger people getting with diabetes and other unhealthy conditions, so that later in life, they'll be quite unhealthy and quite often disabled and unable to work.
So it's quite alarming, Prof.
Yeah,
it's a really big issue and challenge in every countries.
Every country in Asia now is facing this. Not only the better developed countries like Indonesia, India, China, and others, but even the poorest countries, Laos, Myanmar, and other countries are facing these diet changes at a time when countries can't afford the high costs of treating hypertension, diabetes, and all heart conditions. And there's a large proportion of the population that's not treated or diagnosed or very poorly treated. So the burden on the country is really quite significant.
So I think you said that it's really, interesting. So how do you suggest to prevent it as a prevention, or to educate community, or
these problems are complex. It won't take one solution, but there's a series of solutions that countries are now beginning to adopt. Low and middle income countries like Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, South Africa, Kenya, and Indonesia needs to consider these. These policies are varied. There's taxes on, first, already 99 countries and smaller areas are taxing sugary beverages. A number of the countries are also taxing 100% fruit juice, which is essentially water, and WHO and others recommend eating fruit, not drinking it, because of this high concentration of sugar once you squeeze it out, and you lose out lots of nutrients in the process. The other countries are doing other things, but taxation of sugary beverages, and now a good number of countries are starting to tax unhealthy food as well. The food that's high in added sugar, sodium, and saturated fat. And these taxes are proving to be quite successful. And as the countries are lower to middle income, like South Africa versus Mexico, which is slightly higher income, the taxes have bigger impact on and particularly on the poor, because it's in Indonesia, low-income populations are now getting more fatter and less healthy compared to higher income populations. So it's particularly important because these are the popular groups that aren't under health insurance. They can't afford it. They don't want to buy it often. They don't have the knowledge and are really not treated or even diagnosed.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, that actually Indonesia is also moving toward the taxation for beverage sugary drink, but actually last we heard that it will be postponed to the next year.
It's been postponed several years already, and the tax has a 6 gram and below. is not taxed. And we know from international that every country in the world uses, if they don't have a 4 grams. 6 grams is quite high. So I'm hoping my experience will help the government look at other countries and decide to lower that no tax area
components. So in relate to that, so how do you suggest PERSAGI as a professional organization, especially on nutrition, to push back the government to really enact the taxation regulation?
It's the only thing you can do is inform and put pressure on politicians to push the government. The reality is civil society can make a big impact. You can talk to journalists and educate them. You can talk to podcasts like this. You can talk to the TV and other radio people, and you can try to get out the word about the science and what we know about taxation and how it works and how impactful it is. But it's only one solution. And taxing sugary beverages is important, but it's a smaller component of our diet than all the food we eat. So later we're going to need the government also to consider taxing unhealthy food. We used to call it junk food, but it's more than that. It's high in added sugar, sodium, saturated fat, and these foods are lower in fiber, super digested, quickly digested, and many psychologists are doing a lot of research in this area, call many of them quite addictive. So it's almost like you feel a compulsion to eat more of them. You buy a chip and then you want to eat mini chips.
I think it's really scary and really important, because when I when we go to the field and visiting the posyandu, we also see that the ultra processed food is being distributed to the children under 5, and they eating it, and some people said no, it's part of the, you call it PMT, supplementary food for the kids, but we said no, you cannot use that as a supplementary food for the kids. So how do you see this? Like, is it possible to block the producent or the industry who distribute this kind of type?
That's very difficult. It's almost impossible to ban a company.
Yeah.
And the companies can make healthy food or unhealthy food.
Yeah.
So the reality is taxation helps them change. And there are many other policies I want to talk to you about that other countries are using, because most of the countries doing this are using multiple policies. And taxation is critical. Your country has been thinking seriously about marketing, and the marketing bans, we've evaluated them. First, in Chile, they had a ban only on children TV and media that children saw and billboards that children saw. And we showed that it reduced child exposure, but that children were seeing the adult TV programs, and they moved all the child food ads to these programs. So we then, Chile changed and banned all the marketing from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the UK created a law going 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And now there's some countries thinking of the law for 100% of the time. No marketing at all on unhealthy food products. And the unhealthy food products are a significant component of the packaged food supply. They don't have to be. 30 years ago, it was healthy food and some junk food, but not a lot. Today, if you go in a small store or a large supermarket, you'll see that 2/3 of the store in the middle is a lot of packaged processed food. Most of it is quite unhealthy. But coming back, this is not only a problem of overweight and obesity and diabetes, and it's also a problem of stunting. And it's the infants that are getting 20-25% of their calories. So it's not even just toddlers, it's infants. And that's linked with stunting as well, because they're not getting healthy food with all the nutrients they need. In fact, they're getting just the opposite. They're not getting the high fiber, not getting enough protein. They're getting a lot of unhealthy carbohydrates, sugar and highly refined.
Yeah. Because it's tasty, right? For the kid, it's really tasty. And
it's cheap for the parents and easy. And it's accessible. It's marketed everywhere. There's not a village that doesn't have a stall or a little store selling this stuff. So it's like you can't move around in the food environment. So the food environment is killing us. It's the cheap, unhealthy food. It's the marketing everywhere you go. Children, once they start to use the smartphones, they see it on that, they hear it on the radio, they see it on TV. It's ubiquitous. Billboards are all over. And so we need to change the marketing. And the government is interested in that. It must be mandatory, and it must be not only marketing ban on print and TV and radio, but also on social digital marketing. All the stuff you see on the smartphone, on your computers and so forth, that a lot of food is advertised on there. And it can be banned. And it's worked. So Indonesia has to consider social digital marketing ban as well as the other ban on print. We're in an era now when digital marketing on food after a very short time, they create a database on each child, and they have huge databases, and they link children to their parents in ways that we'll never understand. And these monster databases feeds out to the kid what they like, what they want to watch, what they eat, or what the parents feed them, and it pushes all the unhealthy food.
And now really easy, you just use your thumb and then you get everything.
Right. Right. So marketing ban is a second important area, but there are two others. One is labeling of food. Right now, the food has complex labels on the back of the package. Nobody reads. Only a nutritionist might study them a little, but the reality is most people spend 8-10 seconds in picking a package from a store. Sometimes they have their children, their infants or young children with them, and they see bright characters and other things, and they point it out. They want a tiger or a clown or some character that they know from TV or other things. And good marketing bans that. But the front of the package labeling laws and regulations that most Food and Drug Administrations and others pass, the good ones, the best now, our best practice includes banning on a package any positive characters or wording, anything, any claims that this is high in vitamin C when it's full of sugar, or this is natural when sugar is natural, but we can't eat a lot of it, or salt, which is natural, but it's unhealthy when it's added in so much into the food. So the front of the package laws that are good, the only one proven to make an impact on purchasing is the warning label. And the warning label has been used on tobacco for many decades, and it gets attention and it has an impact. And they adopted that after evaluations on many of these other approaches, traffic lights, the Singapore approach and others. None of them have been shown to make a big impact. And so the warning labels have been shown to have a significant impact on reducing purchasing of food high in sugar, sodium and saturated fats, and higher in energy density. So it's getting rid of the unhealthy food, and people are replacing it with healthier food. So it's been done, all these taxes as well as the front of the package labeling has been done without reducing employment. And the food companies can make healthy beverages, they can make sparkling water, they can make other flavored waters with some natural flavor, and that are healthier, and they can sell all those, or they can sell sugary beverages which are unhealthy. And the food companies can make healthier food. They used to. It's only in the last 40, 50 years globally that they changed to make increasingly unhealthy food. So we can have healthy processed food. We can have healthy food in packages. Just like we can have healthy food from restaurants, or we can have horribly unhealthy fast foods full of oils and unhealthy items.
That's really interesting, Professor Berry. But I also have heard about argument from the industry, because for example, Indonesia have it's a tea with sugar in the package, and they also make the less sugar and non-sugar. So I also like to do observation. So when I see people, they always take the most with the sugar, and the industry said, no, we're not selling anything from the non-sugary drink. So I'm assuming that education and also literation for the community is also important. So they have the right decision how to,
Right, but the warning label on unhealthy food tells people this is high end. Depending on the literacy in the country, they often put a picture with it, and it says it's unhealthy. and it's a requirement. And then on those packages, you don't see all the characters and wording, and all of that really has made a significant impact. We've seen in one country an evaluation, just after 3 years, over a 33% reduction in sugar consumption. That alone, let alone the 25% reduction in calories and sodium, will have massive impacts on not only weight, but in particular on diabetes and hypertension. So these are critical kinds of policies that can work. But there's a fourth one that's equally important and that your government has started to support. And that's healthy food in schools. And then later to think about healthy food in public hospitals, healthy food for the military. So it's a whole government procures an enormous amount of food for all these different. Right now you have this huge school feeding program. The government committed already $10 billion to this, enormous amount in rupiah, and they'll increase that. But it's so critical for children. A lot of children come from low-income families. They come to school without any food or very minimal amounts of food. The school feeding is really important, and the countries that have done this have seen a significant impact on enrollment of low-income kids in school and active participation. They've seen big increases in learning and other. So this is not only important for health, but also for the education, the human capital development, the creation of the next generation of Indonesians. So the school feeding program is critical, very important, and hopefully the years ahead it will have government and schools will see the impact on children. The government will realize they're doing something really important. And it's one of the things when they do taxes, the money from unhealthy food could be used to fund the school feeding and even later create snacks or early breakfasts for low-income children and in areas with very low-income populations, other ways to help the children eat better and then learn more. So that's a critical component. But it's also not only them. In more and more countries, they're finding it's difficult to enroll healthy people in the military, in the police, because they're overweight and obese, and they don't have the same ability athletically and otherwise to do a lot of the things in the military. So healthy food procurement for the military is another area, so that they stay fit and healthy rather than going out and buying a lot of junk food and unhealthy food. So all of these areas together are the beginning of what we're learning has an impact. But we'll have to ultimately do other things. We'll have to find ways to use taxation money on unhealthy food to help low-income households get healthier food. They don't have the ability to buy all the fruits and vegetables and more expensive products, eggs, other things. And they eat just a lot of unhealthy carbohydrates that fill you up quickly but make you hungry later and are not healthy. So we need to, it's a long struggle. This is not going to change the health of Indonesia in 1 year. This will take time, but you'll see the changes over time. And we need to create the next generations of Indonesians to be healthier. We can't do like the adolescents today that increasing proportion are overweight and obese, and they're going to be getting diabetes in their 20s and 30s. Already you're seeing some diabetes among adolescents, never seen before. It's a whole the whole disease profile of Indonesia has changed, and it's changed because of the unhealthy food. Clearly, there are other things we can do. We could have physical activity and other things in schools, but they're minor. The impact is going to come from healthier food.
Yeah. So there is no single shot, and it will take, taking care of all the problem.
You need a shotgun, and you need many different approaches, but we need to start. And we need to begin with one, and then do another, and more. And at some point, the nutrition profession in this country has to work with the government to create a nutrition profile model where they say what's unhealthy, what is a high in added sugar, what's a high in sodium, a high in saturated fat level, and define it and use it for all these policies so there's uniformity and the policies reinforce each other. And that's something that's lacking right now in this country, and we need that to be done.
Yeah, agree, Prof. It's really, really important that everyone is, having the same objective towards and solving this issue. I would like to go back with the free school meal program, because it's now our government priority program that we can use this as a platform to provide healthy food and also educate the children about healthy food. But there is also argumentation about, is there any potential that these free meals can increase the obesity or overweight among the children?
And what we've seen is that initially a country starting a school feeding doesn't have an infrastructure, doesn't have the schools with kitchens, doesn't have local area capacity. They hire large caterers, and these caterers give them pizzas and other unhealthy food that the children like. And we've seen in many countries increasing overweight, obesity. I was brought in by Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, to help create a school feeding program there and change what had been done before. And it was complex and so on. It is, but we started with some healthy food and that were simple and built up healthier food rather than using some big companies selling catered food. But it's the easy way initially. There's often corruption involved with it because there's a lot of money. 10 billion is a lot of money. But ultimately, we need the country to be moving to thinking about healthier food for the school feeding and more real food and less of the process. But it takes time. In the private schools, there'll be really good healthy meals now. But when you go to the public schools and you need to get something in children, particularly low-income children who just don't get enough to eat. And so beginning with, it's going to be hard. It will take years before that gets established well. And then one needs to begin to work on changing it to create healthier food. But just creating an infrastructure and beginning the process, helping the local school districts learn about food procurement and dealing with it, this is not easy. It takes time. In Brazil, when we shifted the program from just catered food and so on to requiring 30% of the food come from local farmers so that it was really healthy, real food, fruits and vegetables and other things the farmers made locally, low-income farmers. It took 5 or 7 years to get that instituted across the whole country. And Brazil's only half or 2/3 the size of Indonesia. But it has 60-some million children it was covering. And it took time. Now they're shifted to real food, 90% of it, and it's moved quicker because they already had created some infrastructure and other things. But this is going to take time for Indonesia. And either starting with simple, healthy food that's easy to prepare, maybe sandwiches with a lot of high protein in them and other things with brown bread, or it may be other things that can be done simply, or it's going to end up being catering. And I think we'll see what the ministries involved do and it'll have to be monitored by nutritionists across the country. And we'll see what we need to be pushing to make it healthier. It takes time.
Yeah. I highlight your word about it takes time, because it's not easy, right, Professor Barry? It takes time. It will be evolving, regularly, and then again, we are as an organization, professional organization, we have to keep pushing and pushing, and also monitor.
Push the other way, like President Mandela asked us to do. He didn't want to create the most complex program. He wanted something that would give really healthy food to children when they came to school, because an enormous proportion didn't have food at home before they went to school. And then we built the program over time, but building it on healthier food rather than starting with a huge, massive meal that was catered and not so healthy. But you have to see what will be done by the government. There's a lot of decisions being made, and nutrition needs to play a role. And you need your association to get involved.
So are you saying that a school-based meal program is better than cater or centralized?
Yes. If it can be done simply with healthy food, or even have local mothers prepare healthy meals that are designed by nutritionists in each region or something. There's lots of ways to do this that will not create unhealthy catered meals. And it's going to be a big decision for the government. And it's simpler to do one big company to do the whole country. But it's ultimately very unhealthy.
Unhealthy. But maybe on the other side, it will be, it's easier to handle, but there is other complexity on that.
Even in my country, where I was involved in the first evaluations of school feeding and involved in creating the school breakfast program, it took time to get it to be healthy. It's still working on that. And big countries have these problems. And you're a very big country with hundreds of islands, a lot of complex differences to deal with. And the food you serve in each province is going to be quite different to be acceptable.
Again, thank you so much, Prof. Barry, for your time. This is really insightful discussion, and we do appreciate your, time to discuss about this matter, because it's really important. And then hopefully we learn a lot from this discussion and from our podcast. And then we, again, like Prof. Barry said, we're going to, still communicating this to all people, to all stakeholders, that nutritious meals and food is really important, and it takes a lot of people to really work on that.
And while a lot of your membership work in hospitals and medical facilities, they still need to make their voice heard in the community. And we need, as an association in general, to be pushing. You know what's nutritious. You know what's healthy for your children. We need a lot of voices to be pushing the government to do the right thing. It's not going to happen otherwise.
Thank you, Prof. That's really also important that we are as nutritionists, dietitian, we really have a important role to educate communities, and that's why Persagi have to making that kind of role to the community. And again, thank you for this discussion, Prof. Barry. It hopefully will be useful for everyone that watching this podcast or hearing the podcast. And I also want to mention that don't forget to subscribe our official YouTube channel DPP Persagi Podcast, and I hope to see you soon in the next episode. Thank you. Have a good day.
Terima kasih.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Prof.